Hello and welcome back to Triple Crown Wargaming, and today you have got me, the Duke, and I'm going to be giving you my first impressions on the Dark Elves Legacy PDF for Warhammer the Old World. I have used Dark Elves a couple of times in 8th edition, haven't used them yet in Old World myself, but I have played against them once, so I'll be sort of drawing on that experience in that game, plus obviously having looked through the PDF myself, just going through a couple of things, mainly units, a couple of items as well that I actually think are really good, really stand out, or perhaps that have lost some of their prowess from 8th edition. So starting off in that sort of vein of things that I think have maybe lost something from 8th edition, a couple of things that I noted in the PDF. Death Hag can't be BSBs anymore. It's only Masters, and I think that's a real shame. It was nice that you could, create that very themed list. I know most people didn't use it in a themed list sense in 8th edition, certainly not at events. You would see a Death Hag BSB on a Cauldron of Blood in a big horde of Witch Elves, for instance. But it was nice that you still had the option of doing that for, fluff reasons, for narrative reasons, doing a sort of Cult of Cain type thing. Now, though, just the Master. Bit of a shame, but not the end of the world. A bigger change and a bigger shame, in my opinion, is that Hydras have moved into rare. You can take either a Hydra or a Charybdis in special, just one of them, if your general is a High Beastmaster. But that's the only way you get them in special, and I think that's a real shame. It was nice that you could have a bit of a sort of monster mash Dark Elf army with, 4 or maybe 5 monsters. And you're just not going to see that in the old world, which is a shame. I mean, you could if you're playing a big enough game, obviously, because they're not actually limited per 1,000 points or anything like that. You can take as many of them as you like, assuming you're not playing with any comp pack that limits duplicates, things like that. But obviously you're limited by the 25% points from rare, which is a big shame, I think. But on to a couple of things that I actually think have got better, or at least have made the transition and, kept their prowess, as it were, relatively intact. Something that I definitely think has got better is Cold One Knights. Toughness 4, which was always a bit of a weird one in 8th edition, because the rider was toughness 3, the mount was toughness 4, but they were cavalry, so you just used the rider. It was very confusing. But they're just toughness 4 now. Nice and easy. Still strength 4 on the rider, which is nice. Strength 6 with their lances. But yeah, toughness 4 is massive. They've got first charge as well, which a lot of heavy cavalry have. So it's nice that, they've kept that sort of vein going with these guys. They can have full plate armor as well, which means they can have a 2-up armor save. Really, really good, thanks to the armoured hide on the cold one. So they are stupid with their cold ones, but they are leadership 9. So you've got to feel like that's probably not going to be the end of the world for them. They're probably going to be all right. It'd be really nice if these guys could take veteran, but or come with it. That'd be even nicer. But unfortunately, they don't come with it and they can't take it. So no sort of re-roll possibilities there, which is a bit of a shame. But still, I think very, very good. I'm not sure how their points have changed from 8th edition to Old World, but to be honest, I'm not sure how worth of a comparison that is anyway. Hence, I didn't look it up. But yeah, overall, I think Cold One Knights, really solid. Units of sort of 6 or 7 of them, just 1 deep, 6 or 7 wide, however many you've got. The unit champion, or the Dread Knight, he can take 50 points of magic items as well. So yeah, it gives you some nice sort of possibilities on combinations for him as well. You don't have to pay for their lances, which is nice. They just come with them. So yeah, that is nice. A little bit slow at movement 7, but not super slow. With the differences to charge ranges now, actually, I think that sort of 1 less movement than regular cavalry matters a lot less. Not so much when you're charging cavalry or sort of trying to bait other cavalry out into a charge that they'll hopefully fail and you can countercharge them, but more when you're charging infantry, that 1 less of movement is going to matter a lot less, because you do have swift stride, so you're still charging significantly further than any infantry are ever going to charge. So I don't think that's as much of an issue as it maybe was before. Something else, these are sort of 2 units really in one, that I think have probably got a bit better in the grand scheme of things. Their sort of rules as such haven't changed much, I don't believe, but I would say overall, in the sort of context of the game, I think they've actually got a lot better, and that's both the Chariots, the Scourge Runner, and the Cold One Chariots. The Cold One Chariot, I don't actually know if it was this in 8th, but it's actually Strength 5. So you're getting D6 plus 1 impact hits at Strength 5. I really like that. Really good. Big fan of that. The Scourge Runner Chariots, Ravager Harpoon. That's really nice. Multiple wounds, D3. Strength 6, -3. 24-inch range. Not bad. Ponderous, which... It's got Ponderous and Cumbersome. One of them is your -2 to hit if you move, rather than just being move or shoot. And one of them is you can't stand and shoot. I think I'm maybe getting that confused. But yeah, basically, if you move it, you're very unlikely to hit. So try not to move it. But it does note that only one of the crew fires that Ravager Harpoon. So the other one can still fire their repeater crossbow. So that's nice. Not too bad. But yeah, for really quite cheap, 85 for the Scourge Runner, 125 for the Cold One. That's not bad at all. 4-up armor save on the Cold One Chariot as well. Very nice. And then Armor Bane on the Cold Ones, which I think I didn't mention for the Cold One Knights. Helps you sort of pip through a bit of armor as well on those 6s anyway. Really, really nice. Everything's got Hatred High Elves, obviously. And the Cold One Chariot's got first charge as well. So you've got multiple options for getting that first charge sort of across, across the battlefield, effectively. You can have a couple of Scourge Runners, a unit of Cold Ones. You've got 3 units there that can go into an enemy unit with some support from something else, maybe Blackguard, maybe Executioners, maybe what used to be called Bleak Swords, your hand weapon shield core, Dark Elves, something like that, Witch Elves maybe, who you're ignoring their rank bonus because of your first charge, and then you can, rack up the combat res with the other unit. Really nice combination, I think, to have the option to do that. So you can put characters on the Cold One Chariots or the Scourge Runner Chariots as well, either one. But yeah, for their points, really big fan of them. Really, really big fan. The Cold One Chariot Rider is a strength 4 as well. That's quite nice. Yeah, Cavalry Spears, +1 strength on the charge. Strength 5 from the Riders on the charge. Very nice. Yeah, really good high strength attacks for an elf army, which you don't really expect. Yeah, very nice. Big fan of those. Big fan. Over to the infantry now, though. We've looked at cavalry, I've looked at chariots. Over to the infantry. And the two elite infantry, 2 sort of special infantry, although Witch Elves are now in special, but we'll ignore them for a minute. The 2 sort of traditional elite infantry, the Executioners and the Blackguard. I think both of these now are very good, and I think that's a bigger sort of level of praise for the Blackguard, because you just never saw them in 8th edition. There was no reason to take them over an Executioner. The difference in the strength 4 to the strength 6 with the Executioner's great weapon, the fact the Executioner still struck at initiative, whatever they were, 5, 6, with the great weapon, so still going before a lot of things. Murderous Prowess, letting you reroll the 1s when you're wounding most things on 2s. There was just no reason not to take the Executioner. Now, though, so they're the same points, whereas I think before as well, the Blackguard were more expensive, weirdly. But they're the same points. Obviously, the Executioners still have their great weapons. They don't go last. They're not actual great weapons, it's worth saying. They are what they called Harganeth Great Swords. They do exactly what a great weapon does, +2 strength. They are actually that's a complete lie. They don't. They are +2 strength, which is the same as a great weapon. They're only -1 AP though. They do have Cleaving Blow, which ignores armor and regens, I think it is, for infantry and cavalry that isn't monstrous, and obviously they're 2-handed. So they're going, at initiative order, probably first, particularly with Elven Reflexes. But for the same points, you could get a Blackguard, who is going to be 2 points of strength less, so he's only strength 4 with his halberd, but he's still -1 AP. He's got Armor Bane 1, so on a 6 he's -2 AP. He's got Fighting Extra rank from his halberd, so you're getting double the attacks on the same frontage. And he's also got Martial Prowess, which means he can support an attack in any direction, flanks, rears, or front. That is huge. Now, you can't do the supporting attacks on the turn you charge, not the end of the world. To be honest, I see the Blackguard as more of an anvil unit anyway, because of that supporting attacks and the martial prowess. They've got eternal hatred, so they hate high elves in every round of combat, which is nice. Not going to come up all the time, but it's nice. They're immune to psychology as well. Don't have to worry about them failing that fear check or a terror check or anything like that. Just don't care. They also have stubborn, which is quite nice. I don't think it's that big of a deal, to be honest. In the old world, the fact you have to use it the first time you come to take a break test, even if it's one that you really want to really easily will pass, or that you actually maybe want to foul, doesn't matter. You have to use it. It's a bit of a shame. They also, weirdly, get drilled cheaper than Executioners get drilled. Executioners have to pay 2 points, Blackguard only 1. Don't know why. I think I'd probably take it on them, though. Not so much for the marching column and then drilled and then charge. Not so much for that. More for sort of customising your width, depending on an enemy that you think is going to charge you, or more crucially, that you are going to then charge. So you can really maximise the number of attacks you're going to get while minimising the number of attacks they're going to get, because you've got the supporting attacks. Now, obviously, if you're charging, you don't get the supporting attacks that turn. So maybe you don't want to do that. And don't want to, go really narrow. Maybe you want to go wider because you're not getting supporting attacks. But you want to start narrow in case someone charges you, so that when you do get the supporting attacks, you're still pumping out 10, 12, 13 attacks if you're 5 or 6 wide. But they're getting maybe 7 against you. So you're always sort of able to give yourself that attack advantage. I think that's a really good use for drilled, actually, on them. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention in their comparison to the Executioners, they've also got a better save. They've got 4 up, not 5 up. So, yeah, another sort of thing on top of the, in my opinion, better weapon. As much as you're not anywhere near as high strength, you've actually got better armour piercing, which is always what they fell down on before. You're also got a better save for the same points. So, yeah, big fan of Blackguard. That was it for units that I wanted to sort of touch on, really. I mean, there are a lot of other units that I think have maintained their sort of competitive place or their place in a competitive list, shall I say, for Dark Elves. Things like Dark Riders, still really good, seem really, really solid. Dark Shards, I think in the right sort of formations and unit sizes, potentially really, really good. Shades as well, actually, I think look really solid. Ballistic skill 5, 6 on the champion, the Blood Shade. Gotta love those unit champion names. There's also an item for the Dark Elves, which for the life of me I can't remember what it's called, but it's one use. I think it's 25 points. You can reroll to hit with all of your shooting attacks for that unit for this turn. I think it's got a place. I mean, and the Shade unit champ can take 25 points of magic items, so he could take that. I think it's got a place. It's a shame it's one use only. It's sort of, do you use it on a turn where you'll need, 5s or 6s to hit to sort of maximise that, or do you use it on a turn where you need 3s to hit and try and get everyone to hit? I think working out if that item is actually worth it will take a bit of time for a lot of people. In my head, I'd give it a go, but I don't think long term it would keep its place in my list. If I needed to find some points, that would probably be one of the first things I dropped. Another piece of Dark Elf magic item, though, that didn't really make a lot of sense. Another Dark Elf magic item, that makes more sense, that I did want to talk about was one of their pieces of magical armour, the Blood Armour. So this is a suit of armour that gives you a 5-up save. Weirdly, doesn't say it's heavy armour, just says a suit of armour that gives you a 5+ save. Wonder if there's any interactions there. But ignoring that whole weird wording, essentially, for each unsaved wound that the wearer of the armour causes, then the armour is improved by 1 up to a 2-up save. And doesn't say that the save is capped or anything like that, although, thinking about it, I think armour saves are capped at 2+ generally from the rulebook. So if you had a shield, you wouldn't get a 1-up if you maxed this out, things like that. But where I think this is really good is on a character mounted on a monster. So one where you can maybe, on particularly a dragon, where you start off using the dragon save of 4+, because it's better. And then as soon as you do 2 wounds with that character, suddenly you've got a 3-up save. You start using the blood armor save. You don't have to invest in a shield or a sea dragon cloak or, anything like that. You can just go, here's 30 points, here's my armor. Probably turn 2, I've got a 2-up armor save. I've got a dragon with a 2-up armor save. And if it's a lord, I've got 70 more points to spend that could go on a ward save. It could go on some regen from somewhere. It could go on to a 2-handed weapon, because I've not got to worry about, purchasing a shield to help that armor save. I think that's a really, really nice bit of armor that I think you will see a lot on characters mounted on monsters. Really a lot. It does say unsafe wounds that the wearer inflicts, so don't think that would let the dragon, say breath weapon something, if he is on a dragon, and then those wounds boost the armor save. Don't think that's how that's intended to work. But, potentially, certainly one to discuss, to look at going forwards. But yeah, a really nice piece of armour, actually. There are a few items, actually, that I quite liked. A couple of banners. Banner of Haganeth is quite nice, actually, 25 points. Increase the armour-piercing characteristic of a unit by 1 for their combat weapons. Now, Haganeth, that is almost certainly meant to go on Executioners. But actually, I think on Blackguard, I'd put that on Blackguard. They get more attacks. They're suddenly AP -2, AP 3 on 6. 25 points. I think that's really, really good. I could see that going on a lot of Executioner units, actually. A lot of Blackguard units. Sorry. The Black Staff, their arcane item, phenomenal. This is one of the best arcane items I've seen. It's not the best, but it is one of the best. It's pretty expensive, 55 points, but whenever you cast a spell, you can roll an extra d6 and then just pick the 2 highest. If any of the 3 dice, are a double 1, so any 2 of them are a double 1, then you miscast. But really, for 55 points, 3d6 pick the 2 highest for casting. Yeah, that's a phenomenal little item. And Tome of Furium as well, another cheap arcane item this time, 15 points. You know an extra spell. Don't get an extra level, you just know an extra spell. Really nice. Really nice, cheap little item. The Guiding Eye, that was the name of that one that I was talking about, that lets you re-roll your failed to hit rolls when you make shooting attacks. It's called the Guiding Eye. It's a little enchanted item. But yeah, those were my first impressions, really, of the Dark Elves. Like I say, I've played one game against them, not played any games with them yet. I have yet to dig them out of a cupboard from wherever they were, wherever they were put in 8th edition. They are still there, but I will get them out at some point. I'm sure we will see the Oracle's Dark Elves on the channel at some point too. See if I'm right. Let me know what you think down below. If I missed any units that really got so much better, if I missed any units that sort of, or if do you think there's any units that really got a lot worse. I touched on the Hydra, touched on the Death Hag. I think Witch Elves are also one that's up there. They've really lost their sort of punch. And the Cauldron, actually, the Cauldron of Blood as well is another one that's really lost its identity, to be honest. Looking at it, maybe it'll be different if I play against it in some games or with it, but it just feels like it doesn't really do anything. But yeah, let me know down below if you think that there are any other units that really shot up in their competitiveness or competitive attractiveness, shall we say, or any that really fell off a cliff. Let me know down below. Thank you for joining me here today on Triple Crown Wargaming. If you liked what you've seen / listened to, then check out all of our other old world reaction videos, including all of our first impression videos. We've got battle reports up there, and then if you like all of that, you can head over to triplecrownwargaming.com, where you can sign up as a Knight of the Realm today and check out all of our exclusive content. But for now, we will see you next time.
Remember to tag your friends and like, subscribe and share. Then head over to triplecrownwargaming.com and become a Knight of the Realm today.
What are you doing, mate?
You alright? Do it for Warhammer!